Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the A2theK Wrestling Show proudly brings to you your undisputed podcast champions of the world. It's the Road Pod, Anthony. The Pod Dad, it's Billy Gunn. No, not Billy Gunn. Damn it. The Pod Dad, it's me,
Oh.
Carl. I just fell right into it, you see. That was the problem. The Pod Dad, me. Damn it. We are the middle-aged, old-aged, senile outlaws. And yeah, if you're not down with that, we've got two words for you. Well, yeah, why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Is that one word, I suppose?
Please.
Another week, Carl, another week. And, while you've all been sat on your hands watching wrestling or whatever the fuck you've been doing, we've been toiling away in the podcast mines trying to find some really great nuggets for you. And we've actually retooled it all a little bit this week, haven't we, Carl? So we're starting from this week, guys. We heard your cries. And we've listened and we've decided to have a look. And now when we're covering the week in wrestling, especially considering we've got AEW's Rampage starting up, we have countless times when we do need to mention the likes of Impact or New Japan or whichever. We've decided to retool the this week in wrestling. We're going to make it slightly more condensed, and we're going to talk broadly about WWE, AEW, and then I don't want to say the indies because that might cause a little bit of
the rest.
Fire. The rest, because we don't actively watch them as much, so we have more to say about AEW and WWE. But there are times we need to talk about NWA or we need to talk about Impact and stuff that's going on there. So this isn't going to be like we used to do it, where we'll run through the card and we'll say what we love and what we hate. Because let's face it, you know what we hate about WWE by now, and you know what we hate about AEW by now, and so on. So what we're going to do is just going to talk particular points that caught our attention for WWE. We're still going to give our ratings, and we're going to do the same for AEW, and that's as a whole. So when we say AEW, that's obviously going to cover Rampage down the line. If we happen to catch anything from Dark or something piques our attention from Dark, I'm not going to sit and watch all of Dark. No offense to them, but if we end up watching a particular match, then cool, we can mention it. It's just going to be more of a streamlined, but hopefully less repetitive for us, because there was there's only so many weeks I can say I don't like Goldberg. I don't like. And let's be honest, if we were talking about Raw this week, like just going through Raw this week, I'd have had to say, you know what, I don't like Goldberg, and you know that. So fuck it, we'll do it this way instead.
Anthony, confession time. You know the cries that you've been hearing. It's basically just they were my cries, just not wanting to cover Raw anymore, basically.
Okay.
So yeah.
I get that. So that being said, Carl, before we even kick off with any part of the show. And I don't know if you want to give a tease for the unique segment this week before we do, but obviously there's our little known fact of the week that we need to run through, and there's only one person who can introduce that.
It certainly is, and because I was unprepared for the change in format, what you're going to see on your screen now is the ringside report, because that's where my sound is located. Basically. And I think it just auto-played as well, so basically it's all going to shit right now, but I'll play it again.
Yes.
Road Dogg, fucking hell, we're gone already. Raid Dogg and Billy Carl, right? Go, Road Dogg.
Oh, you didn't know?
Perfect. Seamless.
Beautiful.
I'm going to switch back. So, since this week, spoilers, we are going to be talking about all things hardcore as we have the deathmatch debate. I felt it was only right, Anthony, to bring you a little fact about Nick Gage. So, obviously, he's the second labourer of Jericho. No, there's plenty of facts about Nick Gage. And this one is about way back in 2009 at the Tournament of Death, where Nick took on Thumbtack Jack. And after he was thrown... taxes, I think. After he was thrown through a wall of light tubes, Nick Gage actually severed an artery, and he tried to continue the match and was finally convinced, you need to kind of get out of here, get in a helicopter and get to a nearby hospital, where in fact he flatlined due to the blood loss and was actually dead for 7 minutes. So yeah, Nick Gage legally died at the Tournament of Death. So it was an aptly named wrestling event. And Nick Gage is a zombie.
And further proof that wrestling is clearly fake.
Yeah, completely. So we'll get more thoughts, obviously, on the deathmatch side of wrestling later in the show. But yeah, that was A2theK's little known fact of the week, and again,
Oh, you didn't know?
that was Road Dogg, also on the ringside report.
Fantastic.
Screen.
Fucking love it.
Need to fix
We'll
that.
fix that next week.
Yeah.
You know, we're trying some things. It's all good. You know, we'll you know.
Oh, you didn't
So I'll
know?
kick us off then, Carl. So we're still calling it This Week in Wrestling because we're still talking about This Week in Wrestling, funnily enough. So as I say, we're going to talk briefly WWE in review. So let's talk about the good coming from WWE this week, Carl. So we've got John Cena back in ring action on Raw this week. Great. Nothing more than just saying it's great to see him back, you know, actively in the ring. And I don't care. I know people talk about the legends coming back, but it's John Cena, so let's enjoy it. And he's had enough time away that I can appreciate the fact that he's back. Fucking brilliant. We've got Damian Priest managing to secure a win over Sheamus in a non-title match with obviously Sheamus being the US champion for those who don't know. Hopefully this spells a good run for Damian Priest, and I do think the US title scene would be a good shout for him at his present run in. Because let's face it, Carl, I think we both agree that him on the main roster is actually going quite well at the moment. So fair play to him.
Yeah.
Over on the NXT side of things, again, looking at the good, we've got Samoa Joe officially resigning as the enforcer, and he will be taking on Karrion Kross at TakeOver 36, which I really wanted to see when it was hinted at, and now it's a definite. Fucking made up. Brilliant. The other side of it, we've got Dakota Kai obviously making her intentions on the women's title clear by turning on her longtime friend and tag partner Raquel Gonzalez. Nice little twist. I think it was well executed. It was one of them things where if you're a smart with the business, you see it coming. Like no friendship ever lasts in wrestling, but I think they put enough time in that it was actually impactful when she did. So yeah, fantastic. Looking forward to that one as well. And the last bit of good for this week for me, Carl, was over on SmackDown. We saw Bianca Banks. We saw Sasha Banks make her return to help out Bianca Belair while she was being attacked by Carmella and the other one, whose name escapes me. Whatever. Doesn't matter. But Sasha Banks is back. Yay. And let's face it, I know she's not been gone that long. Always cool to see her. One of the best women's wrestlers that WWE have. So awesome to see her back. So let's talk about the bad side of WWE this week, Carl. We have this. It's not anything against Nikki, but Nikki Ash, or ASH, because you seem to say it that way, so I assume that's how we're meant to say it, but it doesn't feel good to me, so I'm going to say Nikki Ash. She's being booked into a triple threat, which for SummerSlam, which wouldn't be too bad, except for the fact that this was literally after doing a sort of promo where she was saying that, you know, things are going to change in the women's division. She's going to make changes, and then we go straight into the typical triple threat that we always get. And I'm not overly enamored with seeing Charlotte and Rhea and Nikki. I think it would have been much fairer and much better to see Nikki go one-on-one with, honestly, Charlotte for me. So not overly enamored. They've done it as a triple threat. It just feels like someone's going to be there to take the loss, as seems to be the case with triple threats these days.
Yep.
We saw Lee going up against Cross. Now, some people may have loved this, and I've nothing against them two going up against each other at all, but this feels like a bit of a rush change, obviously, because of the Jeff Hardy situation and the fact that neither of these people right now on the main roster could have done with taking the loss. I think this is going to be bad for one of them. You know, sometimes you get a situation where it's like, well, the loss isn't going to hurt them. I think this was damaging to whoever took it. For those who weren't keeping track, Keith Lee took the loss. So good for him. He's not won at all since he's come back.
Welcome back, Keith.
Welcome back, Keith. So it's going in the negative for me for that reason, because I just think these in a different situation, I'd love to see these two go up against each other. I just feel like because they kind of put it together like they have, it just didn't land for me at all. We have, and I'm interested to know how you feel about this one, Carl. Another negative coming out of WWE this week is Bobby Lashley went against both Shelton and Cedric this week, won quite decisively. And the reason it's a negative for me is not because, yes, they've done a successful job making Bobby Lashley look dominant, but am I really meant to give a shit about Goldberg wanting to be next, like he very clearly made it this week? When I still managed to moan about Goldberg, but the point being, you know, we've seen Drew McIntyre successfully beat Goldberg, and are we meant to believe that realistically a man who can manhandle two very credible wrestlers on a normal week on Raw is going to struggle against Goldberg? A Goldberg out of his prime, with all due respect to him. Do you know what I mean? I feel like this is damaging to the storytelling, because there's no way I'm going to go into that pay-per-view and expect him to win at all. and I need to at least have that slight threat. Otherwise,
to be honest, I think it was more damaging to Shelton and Cedric because it's
definitely.
almost like to the point where they're not even credible in their eyes anymore.
What was it to the end for? Like, I could even live with the damage to them too if there was an end to it. Like, we go, oh fucking hell, Bobby might win this, but no one's expecting him not to. So what did they do? What did it do? Nothing. Yeah. So looking at some of the bad for NXT this week, Carl, we had Hit Row taking a loss to Imperium. Again, on paper, Imperium are a solid team, so it makes sense that they would take the win, but at the same time, we're trying to build Hit Row up, and I just feel like the loss might have been a bit too soon, so I'm going to put it in the negative column over there. We have a massive negative for me. We have Kyle O'Reilly going after Adam Cole again, and we need another match between them again. I don't fucking want it. I don't care. I don't care. We had a nice little match with Bronson Reed and Adam Cole. I was enjoying it, and then this fucker got involved, and I don't get why people like him, so I'm going to moan about it. I'm going to put him in the negative, so fuck you. Fuck everyone. Anyway, sorry, come on. And then moving over to SmackDown, Carl. Getting there, past near the finish line here, Carl. SmackDown, slight negatives for this week was Cena complaining about not getting a title shot and then attacking Corbin, who is meant to be a heel, but like I still don't get why we're not meant to feel sorry for him, but even like the biggest face in the company is like, nah, I don't care, fuck you, and hits him with the attitude adjustments. Why? Because he's lost his crown, he's down on his luck, his wife's left him, he's homeless, and so on and so on. So naturally, you want to give him an attitude adjustment. Fuck that guy and everything he's about. Apparently, I still don't get it. I don't get why we all hate Corbin so much that even like the faces are like, nah, fuck that guy. 20 foot, right? I need to talk about this one. I need to understand this one, Carl, and I'm hoping you might be able to explain this to me, right? We saw Reggie go up against Gable for the 24/7 title. This isn't the first time we've seen a 24/7 title defended in the ring. That bit doesn't bother me. We saw a DQ finish because of Otis. And that was that. For the title that's defended 24/7.
Yeah.
So either I'm meant to believe that Gable's a fucking idiot or they changed the rules, because why wouldn't you just go for him again?
Yeah.
It's always on the line.
To be honest, I'm surprised. I mean, they're obviously just stupid. They don't care about the title, but I'm surprised that hasn't happened before, where somebody wins a competitive match and are then celebrating and then just get rolled up and lose straight after the match, because it's like, well, duh, it's a 24/7 title. But
exactly.
No, like,
why is that not a thing?
I have no idea.
So that just the fact that they didn't seem to even remember their own stipulation for this belt pissed me off. So that's going in there. And again, I know some people might have enjoyed this, but my last one, again, looking at SmackDown, was the contract signing at the end of the night. We see Balor signing contracts with not Samoa Joe, what's his name? Kidding. Joe Anoa'i. Roman, you know him. We had to see Baron Corbin try and get involved. We had to see John Cena try and get involved. And apparently, the idea with the contract signing, Carl, it doesn't matter who's penned in the contract, or who's named in the contract, or what's been arranged at all. It's whoever can get their fucking signature on that paper first, and that's exactly how it was booked. And even when Paul Heyman tried to question that validity of that, nope, we're sticking with it. Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville said, no, it's definitely John Cena now, because he signed it before the other two could, because he knocked them out of the way. So John Cena, being this face of the company and a man who is an inspiration to children everywhere, Carl, young kids look up to him, and we're a PG product. We like the kids looking up to John Cena, and he's gone and taught all of our children, if you do not get what you want, hit people until you do. Thanks, John. So love that one too, boss.
Do you know what? Yeah, you make an excellent point, but I might be in the camp that didn't actually mind. Now don't get me wrong, it was stupid, completely stupid. But I didn't want to see Finn versus Roman at SummerSlam. And obviously this was a silly way to get us there.
Why have 1 week's worth of a swerve where you go, no, it's not going to be... John's not even getting a title shot. Fuck that. Why even do that for a week? For a week, Carl? And make us believe it? Like you say, I don't really care about like the battle losing out, because I wanted to see John Cena versus Roman. This weird swerve is just unnecessary for me. Just book the match. I know we've got 3 weeks until SummerSlam, but just book the fucking match. I don't care.
Yeah.
So all in all, Carl, not too bad a week. And this is Raw looking a little bit better than the absolute gutter shite that it was for a good while, if we're honest. And yeah, on a balance, and this is really difficult this week because we're trying to do it as WWE as a whole. So I might be being a little bit over generous, but I'm going to call it a 3 because I think it was somewhat above middle of the road. I think it was well booked all around, with a few exceptions. So I'm going to give it a 3, and maybe when I get more used to, giving a grade for the entire of WWE might change. But right now, yeah, I'm comfortable with a 3.
Okay, I'm going to go a whole point below you.
Wow.
Okay. I'm going to go with a 2. So I think if we were scoring these shows individually, then, it would be standard thoroughfare for me. It would be, like a 1 point something for Raw, maybe scraping a 2 for SmackDown, maybe scraping a 2 for NXT. So WWE as a combined product this week, I felt as an average, probably averaged out around about a 2 for me. I just think,
you're not wrong. It's just like it's difficult in the balances in my head of going. SmackDown's still quite good with a couple of issues. NXT is still really well booked in terms of matches, but storylines are always a little bit shocking. And Raw is starting to find its feet a little bit again, but with some shocking decisions as well. So it is. I can see how you got a 2, but I just feel a little bit too harsh giving it a 2 myself.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think it is difficult when there are so many shows as well, and that means there's a lot of extra good bits, but there's also a lot of extra bad bits. So yeah, I think just Raw itself pulls down the whole product by at least a point. But yeah, even stuff I know you put it as a highlight, but even like Sasha and Bianca this week, it was like, yeah, it was nice to see Sasha back, but then it was like when she was dancing around, it was like, well, yeah, this is obviously fishy, isn't it? And the fact that it just made Bianca look like an idiot. Like, oh yeah, we'll dance together now. And it was just like, you idiot, how can you not see that coming?
Well, I think people have been joking about like Big Show being proud of Sasha for how often she turns face and heel. It's really
yeah, they're not wrong. But yeah, so for me, I think overall it's going to get a 2.
Yeah, no, I'll live with that, Carl. I can understand. Okay. I'm not even going to give you any grief for it.
So let's move swiftly on to AEW, and it's just the one show for now. But we thought we'd try the format early.
Could be. We can pull in elements wherever we want. So if there's something there hasn't been this week, but again, for those who are not aware of the format, who didn't listen to the beginning of the show, if we want to pull in elements of Dark, we will. If we want to pull in elements of Rampage, this is stuff we've seen from AEW that are particularly noteworthy. So this week it is all Dynamites, I know that. But
all Dynamites, because I didn't watch Dark or Dark Elevation this week, and that's the reasons why. But yeah, so highlights for AEW this week was is it a 4v4 match? I think it was. Was there 5 of them? Was there 4 of them? Might have been 5 of them.
It was 5v5.
Yeah. So basically, Hangman and the Dark Order against the Elite. I mean, look, it was full of really good story. This has been the story which has gone on for months and months now between Hangman and Kenny. So, the Elite getting involved and the Dark Order getting involved and stuff like that. There's a lot of layers to that there. And I think the actual match quality ended up being good as well. Now, there was some quite interesting entrances for the pair of them. So, Hangman and Dark Order's one was... yeah. So, Hangman and Dark Order's one...
I don't want to jump the gun.
Was... well, yeah, that, their one was a little bit more, just cooler, and like it felt almost like something WWE would do, if I'm honest. Like the quality was good, the production of it was good.
It did really well. Like Hangman looked like a badass, and they were all supporting him in the right way. Do you know what I mean? He was the focus of that group. And all right, I don't think he should be the leader of the Dark Order, but they made a big deal of Hangman, which is exactly what they needed to do. And I thought it was really, really well. It was effective.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. And then to your point, obviously the Elite Squad. So I've seen a lot of comparisons on social media about this, like, WWE hype the Army of Darkness film by putting zombies in there, and everyone shits on that. But then the Elite dress up as basketball players to hype Space Jam, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, it's not even remotely the same thing. Like, come on, one of them's literal fucking zombies as lumberjacks. The other one's like goofy, arrogant pricks dressed up as basketball players.
Like, for me, the comparison would be if Damian Priest came out and his entrance involved zombies, then I'd be like, that's fine. Like, that would have been an Army of Darkness connection that I wouldn't have minded WWE doing. It was the fact that they were so involved, like that goofy promotion was so involved with the match, and out of nowhere as well. Like, I don't mind that entrance, and it clearly had a nod to Toon Squad. And to be honest, again, like, it's not directly part of their characters, but these guys are goofy enough that they probably did love Space Jam. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
it didn't feel out of place for them as goofy characters.
no, not at all. And obviously Kenny Omega, we know, from North Carolina, it's all about Michael Jordan and stuff anyway. So, the tie-ins are all make perfect sense. So I thought it was good. The match quality was good. And obviously it's left us on a cliffhanger because, Hangman took the loss, took the pin, albeit with a belt to the face and some shenanigans. But what does that mean now for Hangman versus Omega? There's rumours that Hangman won't even be at All Out, and he's no longer going to be challenging Kenny. So, is this? I can't remember where I saw it, but someone made quite a good comparison to say like this is the end of Act 2. We had Act 1 with Kenny and Hangman and everything they went through as a tag team and stuff, and the breakup, and then how he's about to build himself up to face him, and then he's face defeat. So, are we going to finally see that third act at another point in time? Like, who knows? But I think it did a great job, and it was a great opener to the show.
See, so many people though have decided, like, basically that they're fucking Hangman over, and it's going to be like all about focusing on Bryan and CM Punk now they're coming into it and stuff like that. I hope that's not the case, and that is a lot of cynical people on the internet, so you never know. I feel like they put too much into the story to just drop it here. Like you say, I think this is just Act 2.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be dropped, but I think, how long it takes to get to that third act is, time will tell, and that will ultimately impact how much people want to see it, I guess. But yeah, solid opener. The next one was Darby's big hint. So he basically is interviewed, only one place to prove you're the greatest, and that's AEW, even if you think you're the best in the world. I liked it. It's good.
Serena Deeb, yeah.
Yeah.
Someone after Serena Deeb. Wow.
So yeah, obviously it popped the fans, and I think everybody, is now using that to say, oh, it's definitely happening and stuff. So who knows? But yeah, I think I've said.
I mean, it is a fairly big hint, though. I don't think they'd let him do hints like that if they weren't at least quite. Because it's one of them. They've kind of. There's been contradictions in the way it's been put across. They're saying it's 100% done. We just need to sign the papers. And like, so that's not 100% then, is it? So I still worry, and we'll still see. But I feel like they must be very confident he's coming to drop hints that obvious,
Yeah, you need to be, I think, otherwise disappointment will ensue. The next highlight has got to be Thunder Rosa. So I don't even know if we covered this last week in the news, but she's now all elite. So made up for her.
I think we did mention it. Did we mention it on the socials?
Yeah, we definitely put a post about it, but I can't remember if we did anything on the show. But yeah, obviously great to see Thunder, great to see her as, an AEW star in her first match now. And yeah, it was a bit of a squash over Julia Hart. It wasn't the best, most technical match going.
I really thought Julia Hart did a really good job. Me too. 19-year-old girl who we've not seen in the ring all too much. She's very new to the business, very green. And Thunder Rosa is someone who's so amazing in the ring that she can put on a good match with her, and she did. And I think, logically she had to take the loss, but that was a really good match, like for Julia as well.
Yeah, definitely, I agree with that. And then the final highlight was the no rules match. Now, it was slow, it was sluggish, and it probably went on a little bit too long, but it was different. And you've got to give AEW props for trying new things and trying to give a global stage for something. It wasn't framed as a death match, but effectively it was very similar to a death match. And you've got to factor in, like, Jericho doesn't need to be doing this shit at his age, like, but here he is doing this, getting pizza cutters to the face. I can't really say much else other than it was enjoyable. It was tense at times, and even though it wasn't the best quality of match, I don't think Nick Gage is going to be winning any fucking technical wrestling awards anytime soon, but it was fine, it was different. And then post-match we find that Jericho's third labor of the labors of Jericho is going to be Juventud Guerrera, so I was fucking shocked by that as well. Like,
that is shocking. Like, I'll be honest, I feel bad, but I didn't even know he was still wrestling.
Me neither. But obviously, I said I was worried it was just going to be the Pinnacle show and it was going to be predictable, just different members from the Pinnacle.
So far, you could not honestly, like it's becoming increasingly more shit that the first one was Sean Spears.
Well, exactly.
In all honesty, like, no offense to Sean, but like, Gage was a shocker, and I didn't really know him. Everybody knows Guerrera. Do you know what I mean? Like that's. They've got a long history as well, so that's gonna be fucking brilliant.
It's mad. A lot of people are alluding to, like, is it starting to feel like a Chris Jericho retirement tour now? Like, he's
Yeah,
done a death match. He's finally going to have a settle to the feud with Juventud Guerrera. Like, people are saying
kind of
if one
get
of
that,
his matches includes Lance Storm, then that's it. Because obviously, if you've read any of Jericho's books or you've seen any of his interviews, he's always come out and said he wants his last match to be against Lance Storm or involve Lance Storm in some way. So yeah, I think that could be telling. But yeah, I don't know. I think regardless, I think he's definitely going to take some time off after this. I think it's obvious he's going to make it through all 5 labors, obviously. And then I think he'll probably end up in a losing contest with MJF, and then maybe
I feel
just
like it
go on
kind of
tour
has
with
to go.
Fozzy or something.
Kind of has to go with him pushing MJF. In all
Yeah.
fairness.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's been going on for that long, so that would make sense. And then in terms of shites, so controversial, perhaps. But I don't know. I've got to give FTR and Santana and Ortiz an shite, and this is probably like,
that is controversial.
Because I wanted this match to happen so much. I was so excited for it. You had weeks and weeks of build up in various ways, like backstage interviews and random shit all around. And I don't know, like, don't get me wrong. Cash got an injury. It looked like a pretty serious one, where basically his arm was just spewing blood everywhere. So yeah, that wasn't ideal. But ultimately, the match, and I don't know whether that was the reason. It probably was, but the match ended up only coming in at about 10 minutes, and I don't know. I felt like it never really got going in the first place. So yeah, it's a shame. I think I'm going to put it down to the fact that it was the injury, and they were doing like a slow build to something awesome. So I am going to hope that they do run it back and we get to see a much better one. But yeah, just it underwhelmed me, unfortunately. And I don't know whether it's because I was so hyped and excited to see it or not, but yeah, that's where we are. So come at me, you jerks. I'm giving it a no shite.
Jerks.
And yeah, and that was my only shite really. The rest of the show, the things I haven't spoken about, they were a bit bland, but they weren't bad by any stretch of the imagination. I think it was just a bit of a blasé show. Obviously, we're coming off, 2 episodes of Fyter Fest, and then this is obviously Fight for the Fallen, and yeah, I don't know, it just didn't have the same level about it. Unfortunately, there was an excellent opening match. The Jericho Nick Gage thing was different, but other than that, it was all just a bit. So I think I'm gonna have to give it a 2 as well.
Wow.
So I know I'm only comparing the one show to all of WWE's product, but I still think it was an okay show, but not as good as it has been the last couple of weeks. So
yeah,
2.
It's a bit of a small card because of the way they had to do the main event. It was a bit of a small card, though, wasn't it? In all fairness,
Yeah.
so it's hard to rate everything else, I suppose. I'll probably land 2.5. I think I may have enjoyed the main event more. Because I think, not that you didn't enjoy it, but you've acknowledged that it was quite long, and it was. But they were trying something really different, weren't they? To be fair, so for me, I'd probably go 2.5. But yeah, I totally agree with your points.
Okay, and then let's just talk briefly about some of the other promotions and the things that we saw this week. So just some highlights. So firstly, on Impact, we got an intergender match, Anthony. So Impact aren't scared and don't shy away of this. We had Caleb versus Taylor Wilde, and Taylor Wilde picked up the win in it, and it was decent, to be fair. It was short, but yeah, it's very rare that we get to see intergender matches these days. I know we've spoken about it a lot, so it was good to see it on a main show.
I think it hits home for me all the time. Like when Thunder Rosa, I think it was, pointed out to us, like, well, you train with men. Like for them, it's actually a lot less of a problem than it is for the audience, because they train with, like, they wrestle blokes all the time in their training.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? And I never really thought about it like that until she said it, and I'm like, it's a really fucking good point. Like, we're all making a massive deal because they don't televise it, but yeah, they're not. It's not a thing, is it? It's not really an issue for them.
No, exactly. I think we just don't see enough of it, do we?
No, and don't be wrong, it makes for some odd matchups. Like, and I've mentioned this a few times, but this is no odder than Rey Mysterio when I give this example. But like seeing Alexa Bliss go up against the Big Show just feels oddly.
Yeah.
There's a massive size difference there.
Yeah.
But that's no different than the whole David and Goliath story they like to tell with Rey Mysterio. So
I mean, to be fair, it's an interesting one, that because my brother still can't get over the Rio versus Nyla Rose match. He was just like, it's not realistic that Rio would be throwing Nyla Rose around the ring. So, that even happens in same like gender matches as well. So, yeah, I think if you were to do something like that with
I just think it increases the potential for mismatches in terms of size. Because obviously, like a lot of the blokes that, especially WWE as an example, they like to hire the biggest, beefiest men they can, don't they, for the most. So it makes the size difference like even more dramatic in a lot of senses. But other than that, I'm all for intergender matches. I think it's the right way to go.
Yeah,
it's better than going, let's give them their own pay-per-view and maybe they'll stop happening.
Yeah, exactly. Next, so Homecoming, just as a concept. So I'm a big fan of it, to be honest. I think everyone knows I'm a big fan of tournaments.
Yeah, it's probably not my favourite of the Spider-Man films, but it's a pretty good one.
Yeah, I think obviously, this is basically King of the Ring, except it's crowning a king and queen of the ring, basically. But yeah, I thought it was an interesting concept. And another highlight that from Homecoming was Deonna Purrazzo revealed her mystery partner to be the former Aiden English, Matthew Raywalt. And yeah, he came out with a nice promo, compared himself to the likes of Van Gogh and stuff like that. Saying, maybe. But I think he's basically saying, like, imagine if the world didn't have all that kind of, all that talent out there. Now he's saying, well, as if he's the talent that hasn't been able to be out there. So kind of made sense. But yeah, ultimately he, the Drama King himself, went on to win the tournament along with Purrazzo on his debut. So pretty good showing for him. Over to NWA for another highlight. So again, another tournament-y style show. So this week they had the Champions Series. And it was just a note to say I thought it was a good concept. I don't think any of the matches jumped out to me as like, oh, these were must-see. But obviously it was decent. Decent card was out there. We got to see Nick Aldis. We got to see JTG. We got to see, a lot of decent matches on display. But just I was a big fan of the tournament. The way they did it, it just felt a bit different.
I think we always love a good tournament, to be fair.
Yeah, definitely. And then just to the O'Shites, and they're not even massive ones really, but I wasn't a fan of Tommy Dreamer and Rachel Ellering being dressed as the Road Warriors or Legion of Doom, whatever you want to call them. Like, I get it, she's the daughter of their former manager, but I don't know, it felt a bit cheap to me as a way to get a bit of...
I get what you're saying. Yeah, I'd understand it, to be honest, like, with all due respect, like, I don't want to sound disrespectful at all, but, like, I'd understand if it was closer to, like, because it wasn't only last year Animal passed away. Mm-hmm. I want to say last year, maybe even this year. I feel like time's just gone really slow.
No, I think it was last September.
Yeah, I'd understand more like when a lot of people were paying their own homages to that, like because obviously we had Thunder Rosa echoing a similar face painting effort around that time. Mm-hmm. I think it'd make more sense. Like I think now enough times past that, like you say, it's just like does feel like a bit of an attention grab more than anything.
Yeah, it just felt a bit out of nowhere, and I think she's been quite outspoken in the past about not doing this kind of thing, to kind of harp on too much about the Road Warriors and things. But I don't know, the timing just felt a bit strange. I know Tommy Dreamer's paid his respects in the past with face paint for Animal. So he was able to don it again today, and I think this was the first time that Rachel Ellering's done it. But yeah, I don't know, I just felt it didn't need to happen, but is what it is. And the only other...
it's not a massive one, but I'll take your point.
And this is, I'm not an avid watcher of Impact, so I will just say that. But I did see a match with a guy called Josh Alexander, and he was just an imitation Kurt Angle to me. So, changed my mind. Is that a terrible comment to make? I don't know. But from what I saw, I was like, okay, his gimmick, it's got to be gimmick infringement in there somewhere. So yeah.
It's true.
It's damn true.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, it's a fair one, I think, though.
So that was this week in wrestling. Slightly new format. A little bit different approach. Let us know what your thoughts are. Do you prefer us going through each of the individual shows, or do you like this kind of meant to be a snappier roundup? I guess it was slightly. We'll get tighter as we go. But yeah, let us know your thoughts.
It's snappy. No, I think I'm definitely a fan of it. Like, I don't care what your fans think. I'm definitely a fan of it being less about going through the card, because I think there's a lot of it. Like, especially for me, like. NXT, there's so much of the card that it's like it's not good, it's not bad, it doesn't need mentioning, it just fills the card out, So there's a lot of that I think going on.
No, definitely. Yeah, let us know. Appreciate your feedback. And speaking of feedback, we'll be back after these
feed.
Yes.
You're watching or listening
to A to the K.
The A to the K.
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 These guys are awesome. Check it out.
Check it out. Change your life. You'll be thanking me later.